Rob Snyder filling in for Tom Collins, along with Laura Mack and Lubbock horticulture expert Vic Baliga. Vic, great to see you today.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
So you just mentioned that during the break that you were in the land of the Aggie last week.
Yeah, I was down there for a conference.
So what had you in College Station?
Well, it was actually a big state, and this is going to sound, try not to let this blow you away about how exciting this sounds, but it was a state horticulturist meeting. Yeah. Well, it was fun. We played softball one day on this retreat, and apparently I don't use those muscles for anything else.
Oh, wow.
And so,
you're feeling it.
I woke up the next morning and I was like, nope. But it was good. We were just talking about, kind of what's going on with the drought and kind of the industry in the state. And it was good. It was a good meeting.
Good.
I'm glad you were able to make it out of College Station alive.
Yeah, they let me go.
Yeah.
They let me go.
He got back up here as quickly as he could.
That's right. So I guess specifically, were there any breakthroughs or anything at the conference or anything like water-wise with the state that's going on right now?
If you look at that's an interesting point, because if you look at the drought map from last year to today, it's like night and day. The entire Panhandle and most of the state was in severe or exceptional drought, and for the most part, we're out of the drought now, technically. For now, and I guess the thing to mention is that it might stop raining tomorrow. We got a lot of rain this week, but you never know.
That could be it for the year.
That could be it for the year. And so, we've got this water expo, this big water conservation event coming up on Saturday, and that's kind of what we're talking about, how to just be more water-wise in general.
I was so wishing I had bought a rain barrel when we got that torrential downpour this week.
That was a lot of rain.
That was a lot of rain pouring off in my house, and I thought, man, if I could be harvesting that water, how great. And that's going to be some of what you're going to talk about this Saturday,
we're going to talk about rainwater harvesting, about designing your landscape in a way to be more efficient, to catch water, and kind of everything else that surrounds water conservation. And we'll be at Friendship High School from 10:30 to 4, and it's free admission. There will be several food trucks out there, so come out and eat and hang out. It'll be a good day.
Yeah.
So one of the newest trends in landscaping is putting down artificial turf.
Right.
Not as high quality as maybe what you'd see at the high school football field or at Texas Tech, but it's pretty similar in nature. At the end of the day, is that an effective way to help reduce water? Because one thing I've heard about that, the potential side effect, is that if you put that artificial turf down in a large area, like, for example, your whole backyard, it raises up the ground temperature.
And so it's kind of a, I like to look at all of these things, artificial turf, rocks, whatever else in the landscape. It's kind of tools in the toolbox. They're things you can use. It's really hot. On a 100-degree day, the surface temperature on your artificial turf might be 130, 140. It's plastic, so it gets hot. And so, it raises your soil temperature. It raises just the air temperature. So some folks will actually go out and water their artificial turf to keep it cool. And
that doesn't make any sense.
And especially around here, we get so much blowing sand that you'll get sand buildup in it, and you'll get weeds germinating in your fake grass.
Oh.
And so there's a trade-off. I think if you've got a shady spot where it's hard to grow turf, it's hard to grow anything else, but you really want grass there, I think that's the perfect application for it.
But it's protected from the heat from the sun.
Right, it stays
it's
cool.
under a shady area.
Yeah, exactly. It lets enough water through for your trees or whatever. Stays cool because it's not in direct sun, and it, I think that's a good application for it. I think for the average homeowner, they're going to be disappointed if they put it out in the front yard and then expect to be out on it during the summer.
Yeah,
because it's hot.
Really, it gets too hot to even walk on.
Oh, yeah.
And really,
I guess you could end up, if you're walking around in your bare feet, actually giving yourself some burns on there if the turf was hot enough.
Yeah, it gets really hot.
I'm feeling really sorry for guys at football practice on that stuff. It
must
be awful.
No, it gets, and that's that's something they've talked about a lot, is how hot it gets on these artificial turf fields, and for the safety of the players.
Yeah, for 2 days in the summer, that's got to be brutal.
That's warm. Yeah.
So going back to the Water Expo this Saturday at Friendship High School, Are you specifically speaking at this event, or do you know some of the speakers that are speaking?
Yeah, we actually have several speakers. I'll be doing one or two talks on plant selection and kind of designing your landscape. We have some folks from the Weather Service talking just about the drought and what to expect for this year. The High Plains Water District will be talking about the aquifer and kind of what kind of condition we're in there. We have people from landscaping companies speaking about, just design and trees. And Joey Young, who comes in on the show sometimes, he's a turf professor at Texas Tech, is doing a talk on drought-tolerant turf grass. Our keynote speaker is named Dottie Woodson, and she is a water resource specialist out of Dallas. And she's going to come talk to us about rainwater harvesting, both in barrels and just designing your landscape to catch water. And so, lots of high caliber speakers, and it should be. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it sounds like a big event there. On the rainwater deal with using barrels, things like that, is that something that you're finding more people are doing now?
It's starting to, for sure. It's becoming a lot more popular. And, in parts of the country, that's kind of the way of life. They've got large storage tanks and collection systems on everything. For us in Lubbock, that's something that's starting to become more popular. I hear people say sometimes that, it doesn't rain enough. It doesn't rain enough in Lubbock for it to be useful. But on 1,000 square feet, and, you think about the average roof is probably a couple thousand square feet.
Right.
On 1,000 square feet, an inch of rain is more than 600 gallons of water.
Oh, wow.
And so you think about a 2,000 square foot roof in this 4+ inches of rain we got. That's like 6,000 gallons of water you could have caught off a roof.
Wow.
Now, of course, that's a lot of tank space, and that's maybe impractical. But the point is that even the little bit of rain we get can go a lot farther if we're collecting it.
Right. I'm telling you, when I saw it pouring off my house, I was thinking, that's a ton of water.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm amazed that they haven't taken off in Lubbock before now, because we've been talking about water and the lack of water,
forever
in the future, for a long time, at least the past decade.
So, but and we're getting there. We're getting there. I think that there's a lot of conservation stuff that's catching on here that is already being done in some of the drier parts of the country, and a lot of this is common in Arizona because they are super dry. New Mexico, they're super dry. And so a lot of this is common there, and it's becoming, I think we're finally realizing here that, not that we're going to run out of water tomorrow, but that we need to protect the water that we have and make it go as far as we can.
Maybe that was the reason we went through the drought.
Maybe so.
Open our eyes to the real water situation here.
It could be.
Now, during the show, we've talked a lot about Laura and her lack of a green thumb. Have you given Laura any plant recommendations for this spring?
Well, I don't know if I have, but I think a good plant, and this is something that I do in my own landscape. I put out wildflowers, and I
just bought some,
and that's a good way to go, because if you have a spot where you don't really want to spend a lot of time maintaining it, put out wildflower seed. If it's something that can survive out on the side of the highway between here and Post, it can live in your front yard.
You would think so.
And so
you would think so.
You would think so.
Unless it's in my flower bed.
And I put some seed out, and I just kind of leave. I'll water it every now and then if it's super dry, but for the most part, I just leave it alone.
Right.
And whatever doesn't make it.
I'm going to try
the rest of the stuff is great. And you can also go and buy, drought tolerant perennial wildflowers at the nurseries. Things like
I bought some at the Arboretum.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had their plant sale.
So I think perennial plants, things that you don't necessarily have to replant every year, things that will hold up as much as possible to native rainfall, things with lots of color.
Yeah, I know I love color.
Well, and we don't want to send the message that drought tolerant landscapes are just rocks.
Rocks and cactus.
Cactus and cow skulls.
Right.
You can actually have plants and color in your landscape.
Right, without breaking the bank at the water. Hey, and I got a question for you about snails. I have snails in my flower bed. That's a bad thing, isn't it?
Yeah, snails have been bad this year. Snails and slugs with all the...
Ugh.
I know. With all the rain we've gotten. People will put out beer in... it sounds weird, but they'll put out a little bowl of beer, and they're attracted to it, so you'll get them.
So would my dogs be, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's probably true. You can
Really? Slugs and snails are attracted to beer?
So if you put out a little container of beer in your landscape, they'll come to it, and then they fall in and can't get out. And so that's one way to catch them.
You can also some guys I used to know. Go ahead.
I think that took a turn.
Yeah. Well, Laura referring to the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. I knew some guys like that.
But
So, Drive-By also called in and said cornmeal for slugs. Would that
Okay.
work as well?
Really?
Yeah, sure. There's lots of products for them. You can go out and buy a specialty product, but
I've seen snail bait.
Yeah, and it's pretty much just cornmeal, beer, all of that. They're attracted to the sugars in it, and that's what they're after. And so they'll go to that, and that's what a lot of these slug baits have is there's lots of carbohydrates in them, and that's what they.
And then it
go
just
after.
kills them.
And there's some of those will have some kind of a insecticide or a whatever in it.
Is it a painful death?
I wouldn't think so.
It's just a slug.
It's a slug.
I know, but
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's I don't know, dying by
how did we
pesticide
know?
or drowning in beer.
I
I don't
know.
know which one is.
Probably drowning in beer would be a happier
Do we want
way
to take
to go.
that
you
one?
think?
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely like that. So, Vic, right quick, just tell everybody about the Water Expo again this Saturday at Friendship.
Yeah, Friendship High School, just in the main building there. It's from 10:30 to 4. Our speakers will start at 11 and be on the hour. We have lots of kids' activities. We're going to have them pot up little plants for Mother's Day and do all kinds of stuff. And so be a great activity for the whole family. Food trucks are there. It's a free event. And we just want to see everyone out there.
So that's this Saturday at Friendship High School. Vic, Baliga, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.